Hello, everybody, and welcome to DM Writer's Room, a show where we demystify the DMing process by coming up with monsters, magic items, dungeons, and all kinds of things live. In this moment, we have started taking a delve down a different path, an idea that was spurred out of a previous session where we wrote a modern Call of Cthulhu adventure, has us thinking about writing our own sort of setting slash D100 horror system. We've been delving into some of the options there, taking a look at what we can do with what we have done so far. I've got a big old page of notes about it. So for the record, I mean, we're motoring over here. We have a pretty good idea of what kind of the loose concept of the world is, right? This is meant to be a sort of dark comedy game, more so than it is meant to be a more of a dark comedy that is meant to be sort of an out-and-out horror game, because we just aren't kind of the biggest. We each enjoy horror to some degree individually, but in play at the table, people inevitably get so jokey, we thought it would be best to sort of feel that at the beginning rather than save it kind of all for the end. I do need to tweak that down.
Yeah, it came out very loud.
That's powerful. All right, cool.
You know what it reminds me of? For keeping the theme of horror, the Sinners jig.
There you go.
Oh, the Irish jig and the
Yeah.
So,
Good movie.
ooh, Spencer, you just got extremely quiet. A little free technical, John.
I
Here,
think
yeah,
it's
I've got you at
back.
max, so you're just gonna have to scoot that microphone on.
I
Just
brought it a little bit closer.
it's still
Ooh, that was an
quiet.
echoey.
Not like this. All right, I might have to call for you to speak up a little bit more as we continue. Then that's fine. All right. So in this world, we are dealing with these sort of unknown outside forces as they intervene and in other ways disturb the lives of our merry band of adventurers, much like Spencer's dog causing a ruckus in the backdrop of his scene. We kind of talked about how they sort of funnel
We don't know what it is. It's blurred.
from the relatively minor threat that is represented by what we call the cryptids, very base level interacting monsters. This is the very first crumb that something is wrong with the world that will inevitably sort of ruin your characters' lives. And from there we progress through varying stages of monsters until we finally get to the last one, and your character's ultimate fate, well, tends to not end particularly well. At least that's what it seems like is going to occur the most in the system. Let me pull up that reference document just so that I can quickly get to what we're going to talk about. Now, at some point in the not too distant future, we need to start talking about rules and whatnot, but today we're coming off of a brief hiatus caused by my vacation. I apologize, everybody. It was very fun. I got a Buc-ee's shirt. And I'm pleased to, my hat has been repaired, which is fantastic. My hat broke on my vacation, which is a tragedy. This is my favorite hat. You can tell because I've worn it in 90% of all streams, I think. It's cheaper than a hair tie in the long term because I don't have to keep buying them. All right, where am I finding this little document of ours? There it is. All right, very good. Let me just get those names out before I get too lost in the sauce here. This document is getting just incredibly bloated. It's like an 11-page doc now. Cryptids, followed by elders, followed by outsiders, followed by voids, and then finally the unknown. Those things that lay beyond our world and that if you are mercifully blessed and lucky, you will never encounter. So today we're going to be delving into a few of the other threats of the unknown, outsider forces that erode the fabric of reality and put all good and decent things at risk. The one we came up with last time was Yggdra, sort of a play on Yggdrasil, the world tree. Yggdra being this plane of existence that is all one massive biological organism that seeks to spread and become one a la nature with the entirety of all realities. And that narrows all the way down to getting hired to go hunt a Sasquatch in the woods. Gotta go to the Pacific Northwest and go get a Sasquatch. And the next thing you know, you're dealing with increasingly terrible threats until eventually your characters are forced to in some way thwart the efforts of the Yggdrasil. Almost certainly by incident, accident, or through the sacrifice of their lives. Taking an adventure all the way to the end of that chain is probably going to be fairly rare. Most of the time you're going to maybe hit the third sort of category, right? You're going to hit the outsiders. For us, this is the Arbor, the discovery that Sasquatch, which it turns out is a corrupted person, had found a place, a sort of garden from out of time, kind of a Jurassic strange landscape. You follow that, discovering that a seed had been planted there that caused that apocalypse, and you follow it to a terrible, gnarled tree of flesh, of veins, and bone. You burn that tree down, burn down half the jungle. Most of the time your adventure ends there, but if you are some poor fool with a committed DM, maybe you then take the next step. Maybe you deal with what we have as Johnny Appleseed, a giant walking beast that should be visible from space. Everyone should know that this creature exists, but seemingly nobody does. This thing that you have to follow down and try to attack to keep it from spreading more of these seeds, which it has been spreading for time immemorial. And then finally, if you are stupid enough to touch the beast and travel with it to where it comes from, an encounter with the Yggdra awaits, and who knows what foul and terrible torments wait on the other side of that interaction. So today we're going to be delving into some other monsters that we're going to be coming up with live with you in the chat. If you have any ideas, feel free to throw them in. We will incorporate them if we can. We do miss some of them because we get jamming, and some of them we graciously tip our cap to and ignore.
Did you have an idea for something?
All right, Michael's got an
going
idea to
along
kick
the
us off.
lines of sinners and music and all that. I think we make a really cool Pied Piper sort of thing.
Such a random... What? Who would associate like cosmic horror with the feeling of a piper leading people down a predetermined path? If you're watching this show and you don't watch The Party Makes Things Worse, number one, my feelings are hurt. And number two, this is kind of one of the things we're talking about right now. And Michael seems to have tapped into the same well that I was in there. All right, so...
Definitely. And then I do have an idea for a cryptid, kind of.
I was going to say the Pied Piper of Hamelin feels something like a cryptid to me. He seems to be a rather junior member of our entourage.
I was thinking like the Pied Piper might be a step above.
Okay.
The cryptid is less of being more of like trying to figure out what's going on, and it's just. The cryptid is a song that's literally getting stuck in everyone's head. To the point where, like, when you're trying to write stuff out, some people are so into that song, they start writing some of the lyrics down and stuff like that. And
I would argue that's not interactable enough for a cryptid, but would instead be a higher tier.
Yeah.
An earworm that like you can't get out and become obsessed with.
I'm gonna have to.
Feels like something bigger.
Spencer, if your audio can't get any louder, I'm gonna have to turn the music down because you sound like you are locked in a closet somewhere.
I turned up my game.
Ooh, that was better.
That's better. There we go.
All right.
I caught most of that, but it was me like, what?
Yeah.
Getting
What
an
I was
ear
saying.
horn?
Earworms, like the sound that you can't get out of your head is not interactable enough in my mind for a cryptid. Cryptids need to be a Bigfoot in the woods, a vampire, like stuff you can stab. You can't stab a song. So I think that goes up into
so then
next tier.
we can just hit the Uno reverse. So our Pied Piper, right, are sort of it's funny you say the Pied Piper. One of my first thoughts is the kind of like Johnny Cash Man in Black with a guitar. Is the other one that pops into my head because that feels a little bit more earworm, right? That's lyrics, that's singing, that's something people hear. A literal piper with a flute, like dee, 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 dee. I don't know how effective.
Mice
it would
after him,
sort of a 21st century world. Although, listen, this setting is compatible with it being 1781, and I guess the tower in that case just comes over on a wooden ship, and it's like, yeah, exactly.
Horses.
You know, I imagine maybe they do delve into a little bit of magical assistance, right? Maybe the Coven used to teleport them around, and now they don't need it anyone because they got B-52s or whatever.
Makes sense why they might be still semi-friendly, if not very interactive.
It's kind of a fun thing to
so-
say that, like, because it reflects, you should always try to make your game be about something. If you're writing a campaign, if you're writing an adventure, if you're writing a dungeon, give it something to be about and it'll help. Something for this to kind of be about if we continue down that road. It is a fun parallel to our own world to be like, well, a couple of, like, not even that long ago, like 50, 100 years ago, all these organizations did work really well together constantly because they needed each other's aids. Now, in the digital age, with, like, high-speed rail and things, they're no longer reliant on each other, and so some of those bonds have started to break down. Like, things have started to get a little watery. There's more conflict and less kind of cohesion. So, if the Pied Piper is our cryptid, is this sort of originating creature that spreads this song to other people, and then the earworm, that living thing that wants to be known, where does that fall? Is that our elder? Is that the same as, is that our next step? So just as a reminder, let me go up to our classifications here. The first are classified as cryptids. These are thin echoes of the unknown, shadows of shadows that could almost be mistaken for figures from the world we know. Mysterious creatures seen on late night drives, little gray men that scoop up tourists in the Nevada desert. When seeking these creatures, the influence they represent feels like something that can be handled with pitchforks and torches. The second are classified as elders, often found by unsuspecting fools tugging at the threads left behind by the cryptids. Elders are far more strange and begin to uncouple from the laws of reality. After tracking a goat blood-sucking lamprey into the swamp, you stumble upon a living cave where stone and flesh mingle into one, and the beating of a distant heart echoes. Or do we go all the way up to outsiders, sequestered and hidden beings found only by those in dogged pursuit or those unfortunate enough to slip through the cracks of our world? Seekers that interact with outsiders are forever changed, assuming they survive contact at all. A seeker who tracked a string of kidnappings opens a door into a hotel. On the other side is a beige office, infinite cubicles stretching far into the distance. They turn, and the door is gone. Right? Kind of that. Oh, that's like, oh no! Number 2, you can kind of still light on fire. Number 3 is like, where are we, dude? Like, what are we doing?
I think tier 2. So in my head, the Pied Piper or the Man in Black, whatever we want to call this thing, brings people to a location to infect them with the earworm. And you don't know that at first. You just think that the people are going with them willingly. You have to find out the secret hideout. But when you get there, the victims will have been infected by the earworm. And they then become like mini Men in Black, mini Pied Pipers.
Now, if we
They're
want,
sending out those signals and stuff.
Man in Black has a couple of other connotations. It's in some other properties. If we want to cut to the real quick of this, it occurs to me that we are rewriting the story of The King in Yellow, a play that when you hear it, it sticks in your mind and drives you mad. That actually does come from this place, this far Carcosa, right? This is on Lake Holly. There's 2 suns in the air. It sort of points to this other world. For those of you who don't know, The King in Yellow is a very famous book by, I believe, Robert Chambers. That is kind of in this sort of world of cosmic / gothic / interpersonal horror. It's a really odd read. I've read it, and it is again kind of in the classical sense of this is not the greatest song in the world. This is a tribute, and how the Monster Mash isn't the Monster Mash. It's a song about the Monster Mash. The King in Yellow is not the play The King in Yellow. The King in Yellow is a book about the effects of the play The King in Yellow. So it is definitely a little.
Is that an actual play?
I bet somebody's done it, but Chambers was sort of waxing poetic about the thought. That was not a play that pre-existed. So we have kind of a King in Yellow motif with this Pied Piper, right? We have the thought that players come into town, they put on a performance, and everybody who sees it is forever changed. That takes us to this living song that wants to be known, which Spencer has as sort of a second-class figure. So that to me means it needs to be a little bit corporeal, it needs to be a little bit physical, right? It's not fully outside yet. So what does that look like, right? If I'm trying to imagine it, I see our man with a guitar stopping at a road stop somewhere. He plays a song and he leaves. And because we need our people to show up, I imagine that in the bar, everybody just sort of takes in this odd scene, and then eventually people turn violent. They start to burn something. They start to sing it uncontrollably. Maybe they don't go home. They all stay in the bar as if they are still listening to it and talking about it. Is it like, does it bring you to violence or does it bring you to fascination? Do they all just sit in the bar and talk about it? And if you do manage to drag one of them out, they have already all exchanged phone numbers and start to like call about it. One of them has a napkin out, has flipped it over, and is trying to like transpose the music as best as they can remember. Or do they go outside, light a car on fire, flip it over, break into a house, and kill everyone inside?
I think the fascination leads to cooler things.
Okay,
and it can lead
because
to
the
more
fascination,
horror.
it leads them to go to the radio station at the top of the hill and start playing the song for other people to hear it.
Yeah.
Violence just begets violence.
so I like the idea that the ones that do manage to recall it perfectly become the next sort of cryptid, right? They take on that mantle and start to spread it to other people, believing that they need to know it. Okay, great. I think that's cool. Michael, what were you about to say before we...
I was just going along the same line of just... I think fascination leads to obsessiveness, and obsessiveness leads to such and such, and I think that's a cool horror line.
Absolutely, and it's always fun. Our game is not designed for you to be like law enforcement or members of... what are some of our options here? Members of Hunt or the Studs, right? You aren't necessarily always going to be law enforcement there to take care of things. So if nothing violent happens, it does create a fun trap where if one of your characters' bit is that they are an FBI agent and so they can kind of do whatever they want, no violent crime being involved for them is actually like a huge bummer. It's like a huge pain in the ass. Nobody's committed any crimes here at all. You can't stop anybody. You would need a warrant to search anybody. You're kind of out in the weeds. Okay. So then our earworm is not quite extraterrestrial, right? It's on the planet. So my thought is I'm imagining these people that are fascinated by it sort into one of a few categories. Category 1, I think, basically are the people who pass their ignorance check. They will always talk about how they heard a really good song one time and how it bums them out that they can't remember it and that they didn't get the guy's name, right? But that's it. They will forever be just a little bit annoying about this song. They'll listen to songs like it a lot. If it sounds like bluegrass, they'll play bluegrass. If it sounds like jazz, they'll play jazz. Category 2 are people who fail their ignorance check, but who aren't quite tenacious enough to really do anything about it, and they are probably pretty broken now, right? They are constantly chasing a song they will never remember. They don't have the talent to like conjure it up in their own minds. They don't have perfect pitch or whatever. So they're probably going to drink themselves into a stupor for sort of the foreseeable future before they die of like liver disease. Category 3 is the one that we hate the most, and it's competent people who fail their ignorance check and actually manage to track it down. And I'm imagining that group of people all in the same place, right? They have tracked their way across the continents. They have made their way to whatever far corner of the world this place is. And as they arrive, they are not at all surprised to see other people standing there in the cold of the Arctic or the extreme heat of a desert. My first mental image is like a glacier, and wind is whistling through it. And even though there are no words, it's kind of like inescapably the correct sound. And I like it being a glacier because glaciers are a little bit more alive than like a mountain is. That's just like that's very top level thought. I could easily go to like temple with like carved paths through it that make it whistle. I could go down to cursed like record or whatever that this thing plays out of, right? Maybe our earworm is a record that these people are looking for that they will eventually find, this like perfect reference. We have a lot of kind of tiers of play we could be interacting with here. What are we thinking?
Yeah, I like it being we'll call it a natural phenomenon, but it's not really a natural phenomenon, but as like a glacier or something like a glacier, that's a really cool idea. Especially like the glacier works really well because it's constantly in motion, even though it's so slight. Like the grinding of the glacier against something, along with the wind, causes it. Hell yeah!
I was thinking, my initial thought was like those like villages built into cliffs or like small cliffs in like Arizona where it was just built into the wall, like made cave homes. It would be like that where the wind is whistling, but I do like the Antarctic. That's a lot of fun. I do think the person singing the song has lyrics that give hints as to where to go.
Okay.
The song from the glacier doesn't have that, but that's something to interact with for the players beyond just, are you infected? Then you can go do it.
Yeah, so they can avoid infection, right? They can not sing it, but get the lyrics from people and avoid exposing themselves to it. I think that's pretty great. So we've got the Pied Piper, and then we have the source of the song, right? The source. This is a place, this is a real thing. And most importantly, right? This sounds ancient and terrifying. You can drop a bomb on a glacier. Like, you aren't going to destroy the glacier, but maybe you can distort its ability to make that noise, right? So that's tier 2 then. That's our elder. And I love the idea that, like, the ultimate elder, right, is a great glacier or a tall mountain. So then how do we take a step further, right? This is definitely our most kind of heady one of these we've come up with so far. So if we start with this person that can be tracked, taken down, interrogated, and then followed, and then you make your way to this. And I think, Spencer, we can kind of integrate both ideas. You find this glacier, right? This sort of tall, great thing that as the wind whistles through it, it makes a tone. And there is like an impromptu village out front of it where people have been living and listening and trying to learn it. And probably there are like frozen dead bodies that are in the Arctic and they have just been ignored. Like, people just don't pay any attention to that. It's not a factor for them. What on earth? How do we how did the glacier end up in this way? What did it to it? So that is where we're going to get our outsider, which is, like I said, where most campaigns are going to end. Some are going to go further than that. Tier 4, the next one, the voids, are about as far as you're ever going to go. Tier 5 Tier 5 is a game over screen that is kind of fun to get. It's like getting to the end of a major adventure in like Delta Green, and your character gets killed by Delta Green in the end is considered like the good ending. The other joke I've heard about that is Shadowrun. You can tell Shadowrun's over when all the characters are dead. If they aren't all dead, then I'm not sure you did Shadowrun. I'm not sure what you were playing. So how do we take that next step? So I see a couple of avenues here. Number one, is this glacier not melting? And something has carved it painstakingly by hand, in which case our T3 is like the sculptor or something. Option 2, this glacier is melting. It melted into this shape, and we have some kind of grand temporal force, something that like puts the sand in the oyster's mouth to make a pearl many decades or centuries later. And then option 3 is just sort of vague hand-wavy magic, like the song is evil and wants to be heard, and we take it to a further layer of extrapolation, and it's like, no, there is a wheeling, singing, eternal song in the void that wants to be known, and it forces itself into the world through various bizarre means.
The only other option that I had in my head was it's connected directly to the wind. I don't know how we could maneuver that. It was just that it's like woodwind instrument, and it's through these holes in the glacier. It's all coming from that.
Well, our sort of mythos answer, and I don't know what the Lovecraft estate has control over and what it doesn't, so we might not be able to do this, is we've run a campaign with this character before, the sort of master of the northern winds, Itlashwa, this being that lives on the plateau of Lang, where ghouls are from. We're getting into some real deep cuts here. Is a creature of wind, and if you look at sort of artist depictions of what Itlashwa is supposed to look like, they have like kind of their ribs and things look a little bit like a pipe organ almost, and there is an implication that the wind whistling and howling through their body is, and I'm quoting roughly, where the northern wind comes from. Is supposedly just the reason the North Pole is cold is because Itlashwa is there, is sort of the answer that is sort of there.
Now hear me out. The answer to the glacier riddle is blow it up with a bomb.
Yeah.
The core of the glacier puzzle could be Itlashwa or some, analog for that. So when you blow up the glacier, you have freed the core being responsible for the noise. So that's the next level.
Oh, so this is...
You did it.
So
now
the,
it's here.
the only way to stop this is to destroy the glacier, only to then discover that the glacier was a prison and that you have just freed something from it.
Yeah.
That the wind had slowly hollowed out through those pipe organs and the ribs to make that sound.
Kind of a like Junji Ito, like this is my hole, it's meant for me thing going on there that I'm pretty into overall.
If I can add one thing, instead of being like you gotta blow it up with the bomb, make it be like a resonance thing. You have to hit it with the right frequency.
Yeah, you can counter it and it shatters it, cracks it. You could use a bomb, you could do the frequency.
I think both work. Yeah, just put both in, right? And the sort of less creative players can just, drive a truck full of gasoline into it and hope for the best. But maybe a more even-minded and potentially successful group will discover that there is some kind of resonance to it. And we can hint at that pretty easily with the Pied Piper. We can have like a radio explode or something, something small like that. I have a very...
Sure, the beer bottle shatters.
If we wanted it to be really unnatural and to emphasize this sort of like vibrating, shattering power, I have like a really nasty version. So full on trigger warning, I'm about to talk about teeth. So like take your headphones out for a couple seconds. My first thought is in one of the like first cases you encounter, somebody inside when the person started to play the song was like whistling and their teeth shattered. Or like somebody tried to not hear the song and so they covered their ears and started like yelling something because they got scared and their teeth like cracked from that interaction just because that's so foul, like that's so gnarly.
Yeah.
And it's also like if the radio breaks you might be like, oh, it's just like a thing. But if like all the teeth crack in someone's head, you're gonna be like, what were you singing? Like be specific. The only problem with that as a DM, I would not be able to resist the urge to have them be like, so was I want it that way. It to turn out that just like coincidentally some like NSYNC song is the like perfect counter. I would have a hard time resisting that urge.
Yeah, there's a lot of body horror you can do. Teeth are perfect. You do something that has a glass eye and it shatters. You can have somebody's pacemaker malfunctions because of it.
Ooh, there you go. That's good.
There's so much body horror.
I was thinking at the bar there could be like a little radio set up. The bartender was going to like turn it up when the person was playing, and as he cranked it there was like that feedback, and that happened. His teeth shattered and they can see he's right next to the transmitter, so they go, okay, there's something here.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And then they can go mess around with the radio waves, figure all that as they go and deal with the glacier.
Yeah, bunch of glass and other sort of like related accoutrement all breaks. That's pretty good. All right, cool. So the Pied Piper is our T1. This person that you can find. You follow them, you trace them down to the source, that's T2. You crack the source, you break in, and you find inside T3. So we're leaning on sort of we're climbing backwards in time with these monsters in a way that we weren't, right? The prehistoric nature of the Yggdra was like a red herring. Didn't actually have that much to do with the Yggdra, right? That like devolution. In this case, it sounds like it's like really not a red herring. We are going back in time and you are just sort of following that trail. So we have this person who learned it from this place, and inside of that place was something that needs to have been in there since the last ice age, right? Dog's been in there for a minute or two. So what is this like heart of the ice creature that we're interacting with? Like, what is this thing? Is it a personification of the North Wind? Is it a baleful, frozen creature that exists in ice? Or is it more music and sonically powerful? Does it, just burst eardrums and, shake the ground through sheer volume? Or is it more about that, like, mind control, that ability to infect people with what it's singing, right? I think we could kind of easily go in any of those three directions. If it's the singing, then this thing is mainly there to, like, spread. It wants to be worshipped, which is a very terrestrial thing to want, but works for us, right? Or maybe it's just that people who hear it cannot help but worship it, and it doesn't want them there. You know, I'm kind of imagining, if we go that angle, sort of an anglerfish, right? All these people think they're praying to this thing that they're trying to get to. Maybe they're trying to get to it. Maybe when you get there, they're trying to like melt their way inside of this glacier because they think it's calling them to it to free it, when in reality, it is just a light hanging off the front of its forehead it uses to attract prey. And when it opens up, it starts killing and eating everybody. A much more mundane truth hidden behind what it seemed was going to be kind of very esoteric and poetic. Or it is very poetic. This is a creature of ancient frost, frozen from the beginning of time, that did seek to escape to be set free. Those are my favorites.
I know that in typical Cthulhu horror, cosmic horror, the need for worship is really pretty limited. The creatures at the top end are so unknowable that worship just happens to give you things on occasion. So I don't know how ready I am to jump in and be like, yeah, I was looking for worshipers. But I do like that when it's tied into like the Ice Age, it locked itself away in this glacier because it couldn't sustain itself, because there wasn't enough out there for it to be fed. So it's in the cocoon of sorts.
It like
in
froze
the
itself.
It froze itself and just sent out the signals until it could be found. So maybe it's not even that it needs worshipers, it needs people that are willing sacrifices so it can feed.
So
And
you're
when it's
sort of
free,
in
it's
the
going
like
to devour.
You're in the like 30 Days of Night Arctic Devourer camp. Oh, can it be a vampire? That's kind of fun.
I mean,
right? Maybe
fun.
this is like our. Well, that's interesting because because if we start picking things like that, it lets me know where T4 and T5 are, right? Our tier 4 is our outsider and our void and our unknown, or whatever the heck the last category is called. Is it where vampires come from? And this thing can freeze itself forever and just bide its time because of course it can. Or is it the sort of more get torn apart in the woods by a bear, right? A little bit less, I will suck your blood, and a little bit more like crash, shatter, buildings destroyed, 9 people dead, building falls down.
Yeah, so I was thinking about, with it being cocoon and all that, it could be cool if if we're going vampires, if it's also just, even in this form, slow moving. Keep its nickname still the Glacier. That's why it needs to attract people in.
Movement.
And that's why it has people attract in, because he couldn't really catch up to them, but if they're just walking into him.
Really on some like It Follows shit. Okay, all right. Arctic Devourer, I'm gonna put Angler. Okay, so you deal with the man with the guitar. You track it down to its source. You see that the people are trying to make their way inside. You pull a full Indiana Jones dipshit maneuver, right? You accidentally 100% let the Nazis get a hold of that thing that they want. You break inside. This creature escapes. When it does, you see this singing, multi-mouthed choral voice. It has like 3, and 2 of them stop singing and 1 continues and looks straight. And you watch one of these like cultists step forward, and these 2 mouths just start devouring him as others begin to line up, still not able to sort of resist the call of the song in a way that hopefully you all can, that 3rd mouth continuing to sing. But the creature moves slow. I think it chews slow, right? Like this whole process takes a lot of time. And it's clearly kind of emaciated. I'm imagining those like long, sharp needle teeth, not like big cutting teeth if it's this slow, like careful predator. So you finally, somehow, you deal with this thing. You call in the tower, you drop your other bomb on it, you cut off its food supply and hope that it eventually dies, you fill its mouth, you get it into a container and you fill it with molten lead and hope that that's enough to keep it from ever managing to sing again. Whatever. Maybe this thing can't be killed by mortal weapons and you need to trap it somewhere. We got options. That's all good to me. Where does this thing come from? Right? Because there's always a bigger
now we're
fish.
getting real heady.
There's always a bigger fish. There's always a thing. Like, is it... Now, this can be as simple as us saying that, like, something about this just gestures to a more distant and alien and terrible threat. But where do we get this creature that can freeze itself for aeons on Earth? So, like, my immediate question is this thing from here? Is it from Earth? Is it from space? Or is it from a third worst thing? Right? We've already done third worst, but that doesn't mean we can't do it a bunch. Pretty much all large-scale horror, right, eventually is from third worst thing. Every single Stephen King book, if you read enough of them, eventually is from a third worst thing that's, like, not at all germane to the book that you read. So that's definitely a very popular option. If it's from Earth, then it could be from the ocean. It could be from, like, the Arctic in some way. Maybe there are more of these creatures that manage to better sustain themselves.
Every glacier is one of these.
Deeply messed up. Or is it from some far-flung corner of space? Is this a monster that landed here?
It's so hard. It's so hard. Because I'm trying to think of, like, the third worst option.
Interdimensional.
Yeah, it's some sort of interdimensional. It's another planet. But this creature is still sort of... You can touch it. You can do something with it.
This is a big step, and it's, again, think about the way that you want your world to work. If you're running D&D right now and you're in a grim, dark setting, where's your monster come from? Where's that gnoll come from? Right? There's always an answer. It's like, oh, well, we ran into gnolls at the town, and it's like, okay, those gnolls, where did they come from? You track them back to the place where they are. Okay, and you find cultists to Yanaug. If you're playing, like, classic D&D, cultists to this hyena demon. You're like, whoa! You follow that along. Eventually, you're fighting actual demons. Yanaug's in the mix. How the hell are you going to deal with that? He's an unkillable demon from the beginning of time. And if you do manage to kill Yanaug at, like, what, level 17, you got 3 levels left to go, and congratulations, idiot. You just unsettled the Blood War, and now you need to go kill an archdevil to even things back out to the middle. You've royally screwed up. There's always a thread that you can kind of rip on. So we're just trying to pull on that thread for us. So this Arctic Devourer, right, it still has a body. It still needs to eat. It's an outsider, definitely, because it's this, like, eternal flesh-eating siren. But, and that's what I'll say, it being a siren, we know other legends like this. We can see how it would connect to other things in the world. The question is, how do we really step outside of reality? How do we end up with Yanaug, Demon Prince of the Abyss? Something like an eternally hungry blood hyena from one of the 600 layers of the nothingness beneath the world, right?
Yeah, I feel like this is... It's being older than the world itself, but it's always been here. It froze itself. If we were going into some weird time stuff, we can go through and say this thing is older than the planet itself. It was, and there were planets here before, and it consumed that planet, and now this new planet has formed with it on it already.
And these are, like, sort of seeds or saplings. These are the sort of spawn of that greater terrible thing.
Sure.
Another thing we could do is sort of this thing crashed on a primordial Earth without any life on it yet, right? And so froze itself because it knew that there would be life on the planet someday. And so it just bided its time and wait. And maybe, is that what this thing does? Does it, like, consume whole planets slowly? Does it, like, minute by minute consume? In which case, hey, we just made our fucking monster from our other adventure that we did. We just made another sonorous being that makes people see visions of a different world. Great job, guys. Horror be a circle. So,
Yes.
Those are kind of the two options, so both in kind of the same wheelhouse. Spencer, what are you about to say?
My last offer is for the third worst place, and it would be like the deep zone, the no light area of the ocean.
Yeah.
But, you know, in some third dimensional space. So you would be walking through, and there'd be like columns, like those colonies with the holes in them and the wind whistling. And these creatures are everywhere, calling out. So when you walk through these areas, you're bound to get caught by one of these songs or one of these ideas or this piece of art, and you're going to walk towards it. it's every bit of information that you could grasp onto, and you walk to and you get eaten by one of those creatures.
I think let's give ourselves the permission to be vague, right? Because this is like weird cosmic horror. I kind of like the idea that it's just however you manage to interact with where this thing came from. I don't know what that is, right? Maybe it has something on it, right? It's kind of fun for it to feel like this creature is, for as strange and alien and awful as it is like a kind of normal living thing that needs to eat. Does it have something on it that when you touch it, you get a glimpse of where it is from? And I do kind of like the idea, without explaining it too much, you see columns and structures. You see a building, a vast and like cavernous structure on a planet with a different sky. And you see these creatures littering the halls, like making their way around. Maybe it doesn't even look like they belong there. Maybe the halls are full of like blood spatters and death, and you realize that you have just killed a scout, a monster that is out like looking for food, and that is it. You killed like the very first drone ant, and now you just have to hope that you've managed to keep the colony away. Or
I think
you get a glimpse of where these things are from.
I like the second, where it gives you an idea of a deeper space, but it doesn't show you where. The interaction that I could picture is the party finds the resonance to counter. That's how they're going in to do this job at all. They figured out that this certain frequency can counteract it and we're safe. When you are in like face-to-face conflict with this, it can attempt to overpower the sound. And when it overpowers in conflict with that frequency, you get washed over with this vision of the place that it was last, or a place where its colony is. So you're getting a vision because it's a conflict of sound. So you resist the charm. You're not going to be eaten by it, but it's still showing you something.
Okay.
You're still getting hit by that psychic wave.
So you said the second option, and what you just described sounded more like the first option. So that's all good. I just got a little... So more of the theme of like tier 2 and tier 3 is discovering this like counter resonance that you can use against this creature. In tier 4, while you are dealing with the creature itself, in tier 3, while you are dealing with the creature itself, you use that resonance against it, and you see, that almost leads me to like, you hear it. It's the counter frequency you've been using, you know it works, and then all of a sudden the song gets much stronger, and the vision you see is of this distant world, and many of these creatures singing in chorus, like supporting the one that is in front of you. That sound somehow passing that interminable distance instantly because this creature is here, right? You know that if you fail, this thing will burrow a hole through the sky, and this world will become whatever world these things feed on next. I'm into. Is that what you are talking about, or am I misunderstanding you in any way?
No, that was correct.
Oh,
it
okay.
was the vision you get is them on the last planet they devoured, where all of them are hanging out right now, and you know you're next.
And I like how that's tier 4. And this is one of the first times we're gonna like put a little line where it's like, hey, tier 4 is not coming up. Tier 4 is not.
You're not doing tier 4.
Is tier 4 the colony itself?
Yeah, so tier 4
like
would be
18,000 of them.
A good tier 4 adventure, the way that I would work it if I was playing this game, tier 4 would come up if you got a TPK in tier 3. If the monster kills everybody, then our next adventure is, title card, 6 months later. And it's you all and this distant echoing song being heard, and you guys are all like in post-apocalypse clothes with like rusty handguns, trying to live and hoping to close whatever gate these things come through. I think that's a good, like, oh, the world's completely boned. Great. Well, at least we had fun on the way out. So now...
Yeah, that's fun.
Tier 5. The big origin point. Where did these things come from? Because like we were talking about, this one's only important because, so for example, the Yggdra does not just make Sasquatches. Right? There are many threats from the world that if you trace them back, eventually you will arrive at the Yggdra. This is just one of them. These creatures are one symptom of the thing that sort of originates them. And so we know that one of the things it creates birds that exist in its presence are consumptive predators that use lures to bring creatures in. So I'm getting a little bit of a like, what's the character from Pathfinder? There's a Pathfinder, Mother of Monsters. I can't remember her name. Right? Is this like being
Lilith.
where monsters come from? They named it after a Mesopotamian god, which whether or not you think that's a problem is, I guess, your own call. Right. So that's my first thought: is that we have a sort of Mother of Monsters, a kind of progenitor terror, which brings me back to the image of the like Itlashwa, right? We lean into this winter, because when you associate with like a predator, right, one of the things I associate it with is wintertime, is polar bears and wolves and creatures that are desperate, and there is no produce on which for them to eat. There is not a plentiful harvest of creatures for them to eat. They need to go after things, right? So that's my first thought. Maybe it's a little like garden variety. My second thought would be we lean a little bit more into the enchantment. And maybe this is, right, maybe we do, this is kind of our monomyth for sirens and vampires and a bunch of other charismatic predators. And instead our pinnacle is some, like, ensorceling, powerful, outside thing that draws all things towards it, right? The discovery that, I don't know, if I wanted to get really, like, Zhuzhi 2021 cosmic horror, it's like, no. You know how all the stars are getting faster? It's because they're going towards this thing. Like, scientists have been trying to figure it out forever. It's because that thing is there. And so every single point of light in the universe is moving towards it as fast as it can. And someday it'll all get there and it will consume the universe and we'll all die. But that's not going to be for like 2 billion years. So let's try to live right now.
The thought is close to that second thought that I was having. It makes it more of a less like grabbable thing, more of a thought thing or a feeling thing. But it's just a cacophonous sound with this undertone of something that you think you can just barely hear through the cacophony. The atraxia, but it hurts you at the same time.
So that fits in with the whole like ravenous void. It's making the sound in the deepest elements of space through like radio waves.
Sure, there's
It's
radiation.
just sending it out. Yeah. And if you tune into the right thing, you can hear it.
And
if you want to live bad enough, a la like the Wendigo, it will change you in your form if you're listening to the howling winds of winter.
Get you on that like
whatever.
Wendigo-act shit.
Yeah, exactly. You got that. You got the vampires who always need to drink. You've got sirens who are eating the sailors. It all ties in that way.
And I like it as the thought of the hungering void, the thought that this monster, this creature is something that, for some reason, what it's bringing me to, because we have this thing, right, where this creature came here and then waited, but wherever it came from had life too. I like the idea that this hungering void makes things so that it can eat them later, right? It births, this is kind of a fun, like, very divine, right? Because we want some of that connection. We want to see how this gets us to like the great myths of the world. We have a creature that creates life for the sole purpose of consuming it later. That does something about its song and the undertone to it, right? Radiation to us is bad because too much of it kills us. But to this creature, radiation is just heat. And heat is how you get life. And when the universe runs out of heat, it will run out of life. And this thing is the engine that sort of pulls that back and forth. The thought that the source of this random ice creature is the creator of the universe is like pretty powerful, where it's like, damn, to get a snack,
hungry.
So I just found out that the reason for existence is the snack that smiles back, goldfish. Cool. All right, I guess I'll just deal with that. Fun.
Good. And it's fun because then it's like, what vampires don't need air or warmth to live. So when everything else ends, you can still eat some vampires. Yay!
And the thought that like why are vampires cold to the touch, and why don't they need to breathe, and why what is going on with that? And it's like, oh, vampires can survive in space. And it's like, oh,
Better for eating.
that's it? Like a vampire is just like
Snack on the road.
they can turn into mist, and maybe that's a real ability, and it's like, oh, well, yeah, it's a propulsion system that doesn't require air. It's like a self-propelling system. So the thought that it's like vampires totally exist on Earth, and they think that they are all Dracula gothic, blah, the music of the night, what songs they sing. But in real life, they are interstellar shock troopers for an army that they have never encountered is kind of great.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
All right, so that is kind of another of our things. And so we have a new big bad alongside Yggdra. Can we give this thing like a loose name? So we have our hungering void. Our, the spinning, it doesn't need to be literal, but like, the spinning black hole at the center of the galaxy. It propels us, it keeps us in motion, it keeps us alive for the express purpose of one day consuming us all. What is it? It is, I will say it rhymes with my boy Azathoth, the blind idiot god at the center of creation in the mythos, which is all good.
Let's see. I'm pulling up...
Demon sultan that pipes to a chorus none of us can hear.
How about esurient?
What's that
Means
mean?
hungry or greedy. It's an archaic word.
Esurient. Powerful stuff. This also, by the way, this is a trope that I would love for us to lean into. James has hit us with Abaddon. Same category, similar vibe. This also hits a... this also lets us do something that I really like. I would really like to do, because this is a beef I have with Cosmic Horror. I'm about to fucking step on you, Lovecraft, for probably one of your lesser sins. You've done worse stuff. I hate the trope of the unpronounceable name that you then write out and seems awfully goddamn pronounceable, right?
Yeah.
If no one can pronounce the name of Cthulhu, put the name that we call him in the book and make clear that that's not his name. Don't like put two Z's and an apostrophe in it and pretend like that makes it hard to say. Like, what are we doing?
And then get mad at me in my YouTube short when I do say one of the names wrong. Everybody in chat, don't get mad at me when I pronounce one of the dumb names bad.
I already gave us our way out on that. Make it Wingding.
It's just
Make it
wingding.
I love it being
make
wingding.
It is
actually-
unpronounceable.
I actually having it be like government blacked out in the book, in the rule book, it's just a strip of black is also very powerful. Yeah, I mean, there you go. Okay.
And the DM notes, it would be like, just call it void or something. Like, it's just blacked out. Yeah, I mean, I like Asurian.
Call it redacted.
I like Abaddon.
We got Asurian, we got Abaddon, something in that category. And so we have this thing. All right, cool. That's our next sort of tier of bad guy. And another of our pantheon. Now, I'm going to start noting these down as a kind of loose... I just want to know, like, because these creatures, these, like, very high level, should kind of clash to some degree, right? Like, they should, much in the way that I think the many servants of Asuriant / Abaddon probably do, like vampire type creatures and the siren type creatures, if they move into the same hunting ground, probably do end up in conflict with each other. I think it is important for us to think of this as a kind of pantheon,
I
right?
think we did just make a really strong one.
But that's
creator of the universe.
But this is kind of the fun thing, right? If Asuriant / Abaddon created the universe, that does not mean that they can end it whenever they want. That doesn't mean that they can't be killed. That doesn't mean they can't be devoured. It just means that they are a strange progenitor for all things. And we can put it up against Yggdra. Yggdra being
it's like
another universe that just hates ours. That just hates ours and wants to consume it because it is there.
Yeah.
Beyond that, with Asurian versus Yggdra, Yggdra is constantly reverting things back to like as pure, I guess, of a thing as it could be, as chaotic as it could be. Whereas the newest creation wants to devour everything. if these things are getting reverted back, they're not going to be as easy to get through space to it. It's trying to destroy. Yggdra's trying to recreate,
Maintain.
to build. Not even, like, just make consistently different. So they would be natural enemies in that way.
Yeah.
The one just wants to devour. The other one has no interest in devouring and is instead recreating.
Purely through coincidence, Yggdra will end up killing the world if it is left unchecked.
Yeah.
But it is not from a place of... It's important that we never at the end, right? And this is the evil one, wahaha, and draw a little mustache, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Okay. So with that, I mean, we've got a couple of kind of up in the air questions here. We can move on to another of these creatures. Another thing we can do, bless you, is take a look at who is in kind of counter with them. So to go over our factions in the world, we have the Tower. The Tower being this sort of extrajudicial, mythological company of knights that annihilates things and, like, destroys anything that is in the way and close guards their own existence so that they can always be there to do it. Then we have the Library, which are sort of basically our council of mages of this world. They kind of fascinatedly keep track of secrets and the spells that they carry with them. We have Brokers, which are an informal group of troublemakers. We have the Coven, which are this sort of Eastern European flavored group. I don't know anything about that part of the world, so we might lean out of that or hire like a consultant probably when it comes time to write the whole thing, that sort of pulls on this ancient tradition. And then we have Hunt, the homeland unit of non-existential threats, the group that all of my characters will be a member of. They will all be kind of pudgy and slightly overweight. And we'll be like, hi, you didn't fill out the form. Like, just showing up dripping with sweat.
It's this one right here.
So, thinking about it in terms, because we do need to sort of populate our world here. James has just said 3 sides. One fights for creation, one fights for entropy, the other side fights for consumption. So that's a good point. So if Assyrian/Abaddon fights for consumption, and if Yggdra fights for creation in a sort of tumorous, terrible way, what fights for the absence? Like, what is not a hungering void? What is just absence? Is there a force that is not? It's just, there is nothing there. That's it.
We'll have to write that down for our next stream.
Yeah.
For our next big bad.
Yeah, and if we can also write one more idea down, I don't know how it would look, but it's a cool myth to kind of work on. The red string that connects everything, fate, destiny, all that. Make that into a monster.
The inevitability. The
predetermined.
Yeah.
I kind of like that. I like playing with the thought that predestination is 100% real, but it also is willful and maybe not malicious, but it is there. Like, there is that element, which I think is interesting. All right. So I think I know how I want to proceed here, if you guys are all right with it. I want to talk about, let's view this as like a campaign frame. That's what we've done before. And let's talk about a faction that we think we would encounter over the course of this adventure.
I think the Library is the obvious answer. They would have, like, the song written out somewhere. They would be at least somewhat knowledgeable about this thing. They might not be after it, but they would have the information you need to progress the story.
I was thinking of a new faction, but I don't hate it being the Library, and this is just how we learn a little bit more about the Library. Because right now the Library is one short paragraph about how they love magic.
Yeah.
So a little bit more would go down pretty smooth. Michael, what were you about to say? You had your hand up. You looked excited.
I was thinking that'd be well, two things. A new faction could be really cool, and I have a little idea about it. But the thought that the librarians have something that has the secret of the song, and they're constantly singing it or humming it.
Oh yeah,
cool
literally
idea.
there is a guy who knows the song is the secret they have. That's kind of fun in it's a good intro adventure move because it puts up high, like, hey, learning secrets can go all the way bad. There is an amount of bad it can go where you are locked in a soft room with like a CRT TV in the corner, and that's your life now, right? The thought that it's like, well, no, he learned a secret to know a spell, and what did he know? An enchanting spell that controls minds, and what it immediately did was controlled his and made him sing as loud as he can.
It just makes him want to go to the Arctic and get himself ed. He's just trying to get himself ed up.
Maybe
that's all.
It makes him want to go to the Arctic and get et, or even worse, it makes him want to go stand in Times Square and scream it as loud as he can. So now he's, we call him Dougie Rooms, and they point to a soft room, and there's a guy in a straitjacket with a mouth thing on, who's like clearly singing. It's like, and that's how Dougie Rooms is doing, and we can't kill him because at least we've got the spell locked down. Like, at least we've got it locked down.
So for a pitch for a new faction, it would be like the Survivors, something like that. It is a loose alliance of people who have encountered weirdness and have pooled their knowledge, but aren't witches. They're not intelligent enough to be like wizards. They're not learning the secrets. But what they are doing is interacting with their sects to know what's going on in a more general sense.
So definitely like a post like information age group, or are you imagining this as having the same kind of lineage at our earlier? I could see it either way. Either one, this used to be like Pen Pal Pony Express shit, or I kind of also enjoy the thought that this is the byproduct of Google existing in this world. Is it's like no. There is an informal subreddit, basically. Like they all have a Discord lobby they get on. And they talk about what they see and communicate it with each other. And, you know, it's also not that hard to be like, oh, well, why don't they just go public? And it's like, well, one of them tried once and his house got napalmed, which I didn't even know could happen. I didn't even know you could get that. So we all keep it pretty mum these days. Michael, what was your idea, though? So let me get a couple of things out here. So number one, we have expanding the library a little bit. Number two, we have Spencer's sort of info age support group, which I'm very into. I really like the idea that you go to Corner Street Methodist, and there is a support group talking about their family members that were taken in the middle of the night, and they're like, we cannot go to the cops. The last time one of us tried, well, and you look over and one of them has a lobotomy scar, and you're like, we don't even know who did that, but we found him. We found him out back at the Denny's. It's like, you all right, Cecil? And he just like sticks a thumbs up. All right, he's hanging on.
What fun about the Survivors is when this starts like really going bad, they'll get a lot of pings about like, has anybody heard this song? And they like see the lyrics start getting shared, so they're like, oh, it's happening in a lot of places.
Yeah.
We don't know what the fuck it is, but it's happening.
James has put up an incredible layup. A faction like the Hobos at the end of Fahrenheit 451. Each has memorized a portion of the song. They don't all have the full song and travel the world sharing their portions. So hear me out. The Pied Piper does not know the whole song. The Pied Piper knows his part, and you need to go find the others to learn enough of the song to go find it and track it down to its like far corner of the globe.
Really quartet.
James, I swear to God.
Yeah,
So cool.
very, very fun.
Michael, what's your faction?
Oh, the faction is going along with theme music. Still, funnily enough, it's the composers. What is one of the most shared things in the world? Music. And it's people that make music to give information to each other.
I like that.
Oh, a secret society of musicians that are like, oh yeah, I top the top 100 chart all the time. But there's secret codes hidden within
It turns out
to hear it.
You put the Beatle vinyl on, you turn it backwards. Hey guys, 100% there is a secret message in your reverse vinyl.
That's so
hey guys.
funny.
I also like the idea that they also safeguard idiots who accidentally put like deeply cursed tunes in their songs. Like they're like, but the new T Swift album's got to get delayed. What, track 12 can't go out? That's the syncope of Abaddon the Destroyer. We're gonna have to take it out. They have to go in. And that's who's that
There's
guy?
only so many notes. There's only so many notes.
Who's that dude with the big beard who's like, I just have a taste that I've acquired over many years. And he's signed on like 10,000 like really famous songs. If you look this guy up, I'm gonna look him up really quick.
He's the leader.
Music producer beard guy. It's gonna work right away. Yep, it worked instantly. His name's Rick Rubin. Look up Rick Rubin. He's this dude who knows nothing about music, doesn't write music, doesn't make his own music. He just sits in the room while famous writers create songs and will just say like, it feels yellow. And people pay him tens of thousands of dollars to do it. The thought that Rick Rubin is like, oh no, I just keep people from accidentally destroying the world by...
Co-founder of Def Jam Records and former co-president of Columbia Records.
Yeah, man.
What?
God.
That's so funny.
He literally just...
yeah, Michael, I love that.
If you watch videos, he literally just sits there and he's like, it needs to be more pernicious. Like, and that's it. That's all he says.
Yeah. Can we up the perniciousness on this? I do love that pitch. I don't know which one I want to go with on this adventure, but I do want the composers written down as a faction to use.
I think we should take our last... What do we have here? We got 20 minutes left. I think we should take our last 20 to expand on the library a little bit, and then next stream we'll come back with the support group and the composers. And then maybe we gotta start taking a look at some rules. I'm sorry, but at some point I have to ask, are we counting bullets? Are we doing that? When you are doing a session 0 for your players, people watching now and in the future, at some point somebody has to be like, so is character death on the table? And no one's happy that question gets asked, but someone's got to ask it. Oh my god. James has just said, Kiss, Pink Floyd, the classic bands tour to fix the problems caused by other musicians who accidentally play the wrong music. The thought that like the reason that Kiss is still touring is that they have this sacred mission that they are not, that they're just not done yet. Every ancient musician that who's the guy that like the video came out with it? Frankie Valli, who's like a full mummy in Las Vegas singing. It's like, no. Frankie's song is why California hasn't sunk into the ocean. He needs to keep that prayer wheel spinning. We can't let him stop.
And that's what cover bands are for. It's just to keep bastions of the light anywhere you can get them.
All Paul, the all Paul McCartney band being vital to the continuing existence of the universe.
100%.
All right, so the library gets involved with this case with the earworm. We already have a little bit of a sense for it, right? A member of the library learned the song, right? The secret they learned was this thing that guides people to this distant part of the world. I think that makes a lot of sense. The song Secret Holder. Great. Now, I don't necessarily want to use this to figure out the integrals of how the library is involved in the larger case, right? Maybe it's just that you reach out to them, but I do want to use this to learn about the library a little bit. Because that's our real goal right now. Because we should think about this from a player angle. How will the players interact with them? So, the library has this guy who learned the song. How on earth do the players ever interact with them in a million years? Like, because the answer that they come find them is super lame, right? It's very low agency. I don't like it. So how on earth do the players ever find out about that? Do they not, unless one of them is a librarian, is a member of this organization and track them down? Or, like, how do you make contact with them? How do you get in with the library?
Here's what I think. I think the library doesn't already have somebody that has the song. I think that one of their members wants to find a secret for themselves, like an acolyte in their ranks, and is in town having heard about this spread and thinks that they can unlock the secret by studying the song. Like one of their own magical secrets by doing this. So they encounter them as like a semi-friendly NPC that is doing research at the same time. And then if that person goes crazy, they can go back to their hotel room, find some notes about the library and like a sect potentially, anything like that. Maybe if they get really friendly, that person will share that information. But
this is a perfect jumping off point to learn a little bit more. So, okay, is this guy allowed to do this? Does the library give you leave to go find a secret? Is this what they do? Or is this something this guy is doing? Do librarians go out with their adventuring hat on and find a secret and bring it back? Or is this dude doing that and kind of breaking protocol?
I feel like you're allowed to do research, but you're not supposed to find the whole secret.
I was gonna counter. They want people to find the secret. This just isn't the right thing to research, and they know that. This is monstrous. This isn't like the secret of fire. This is like an extra planar song that is going to fuck you up.
I like
so
the
he might be here not on leave, but doing a thing that they would typically do.
I like the idea that the secret that the Devourer is at the heart of the glacier would be one. There's an ancient creature at the heart of a glacier that sings to the world, and that secret would give you a secret, capital S, like a spell. And maybe when you free it, that secret goes away in the world. Like it vanishes. Anybody who had that secret loses it because it's not a secret anymore. I think that's kind of fun.
Just singing Dan room. He's no longer crazy when
that's honestly really funny.
Kill him.
I have a pitch for I think the middle between the two ideas that I think is good. So I think that, hear me out for the library. I'm trying to think about that distance, right? We have to think about the practical world of living in a Cthulhian cosmic horror hellscape, right? You've got to be practical. These people are trying to stay alive. So I think that to the librarians, you are allowed to research a new secret. This is just a pitch, but the person that researches it is not allowed to go find it. You research it and you hand it off to somebody else. They bring it to a council. The council approves or disapproves the mission to go get the secret. They send a different person to go get it. That person picks up the secret, doesn't read it yet still, brings it back, hands it back to the council, and then the council elects somebody to read it. So it's like as separated out as it can be. And this dude is in a fuzzy space because he is supposed to be researching it, but he has broken protocol and he has jumped to the middle step and is like, and I'm gonna go get it because I know where it is and I need to act right now. Something about the time pressure has made him break the rules and he's here when he's not supposed to be.
I think that's great.
It's super. It's a cool makeup of it, and we get almost like tiers in library. We have like your scholars here. You have the collectors, call them like bookkeepers or stalkers. The council is probably the librarian.
Yeah, like a small group of like 10 that make all the choices.
Yeah. Tiers are fun. It's nice to have order.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So we got kind of like that multiple thing. And I think another interesting thing that could happen is I think if the party encounters this guy and then goes to a library and starts researching esoteric weirdness, I think you will end up with another agent in town who's looking for that guy. And you can start to like get caught in the web of what the library does. Because it's important that I don't want it to be like there's one dangerous faction and then 9 other helpful, friendly guys. I love the idea that it's like, no, this one librarian wants your help because he's already breaking the rules. Agent Vought, who has just arrived in a library car, not your friend. Not here to be buddies. He is here to kill that guy, and if any of you know too much, he might ice one of you just for good measure. Like,
you've got acolytes, you've got researchers, you've got explorers, you've got enforcers. Every sect of this place is going to have some version of an enforcer. The Coven probably has witches that go out and kill people, like they all do. So yeah, I think that makes sense here. The enforcers for the library are just going to kill you.
So what we've learned about the library is that, number one, they're a professional organization. They have tiers that they work out of, and they have a very strict chain of command, right? Things have to go through the same process to keep everything as safe as possible. I think that makes a lot of sense. We have learned that breaking those rules isn't a slap on the wrist. Somebody's going to come find you. And maybe you'll be like, if this is this guy's first time stepping out of line, maybe it works out. He's probably going to be like Dewey Decimaling evil books for the rest of his life, or for like 5 years before he kind of earns trust back. Is there anything else about the library that we can learn in this moment? Is there anything else that we can sort of pull out of what is going on here?
There needs to be some juice for the squeeze for this acolyte who's doing more than he should.
Yeah.
And I think what it is it's a gamble. He's not supposed to learn the secret. Sorry, my dog's trying to get love. He shouldn't have been trying to get the secret. If he does get the secret, he is protected by the library because now he's a secret keeper. They don't want to get rid of somebody who has a secret. He wanted to jump the line to get that secret so he would be safe from them hunting him down. So the rush is he probably got just an inch too deep and was like, oh shit, now I need to learn the secret so Agent Vought doesn't shoot me in the back of the head when I'm not looking.
I like that. So there's like an unintentional angle to it, right? It's not like he set out to break the rules. He realized too late. He's like, oh, I already messed up. Like I know
part of the secret. Now I need to go. So he's in town. He's understanding. He's trying to figure it all out.
And what I like about that is maybe the early, like, basic preliminary version of whatever ability he will get is manifesting. Just some little fragment of what this secret is going to give him is manifesting, and he's like, oh no. Like, oh, I messed up. This is bad. Okay, cool. So I'll add that there is a, I'm going to add next to the library I'm going to write just like whoopsie daisies.
Yeah.
They're overdue books.
I'm going to say, what is it? It's like, it's easy to mess up. The library does not have this like the tower does not mess up. They are brutal, vindictive, and vicious. They will hunt you down. They will do whatever they need to do. And for all of that, for as terrible as all of that is, you know what? They don't miss. I don't think the tower has a failed mission on the books. You know what I mean? They get it done. The library is a little looser. They don't like to kill people for no reason. They try to garner these secrets to protect people rather than just crush opposition. And as a result, things do slip through the cracks. People do learn things they're not supposed to learn, and they do need to react in ways that are not great. They do need to like ice their own agents every now and again and cut people loose. Okay. I don't need to know much more about the library. We'd be getting into like timeline stuff, like when did they come about, where are they based out of, and we're getting a little loosey there. I don't need too much of that. The only thing we really need to know is that like there's a secret door in the New York Public Library, and if you go through it, you're in like a library home base in the U.S. Right? There's fun shit like that going on, but we all knew that. Yeah. If you tell one of the lions out front of the library a riddle, it will open a secret portal. Like, of course, all that shit's in there.
Yeah. Now, I do have a general question.
Sure.
When it comes to wealth and influence, where does the library stack compared to the other groups? Because I think the coven is the lowest tier of wealth and influence.
Are you talking real world or World of Secrets and everything?
Like
real world?
Probably both, I guess.
See, but in the real world, now this is me getting a little too comedy brained. But I think it's the Coven has this kind of like fortune teller, secret finder thing going that does give me a little bit of like, maybe they do win the lottery every couple of years. Like maybe Bjork, maybe Bjork is in the Coven. Like when I think of the abilities that would be accompanied by that, I do think of things that would make money for the library, but maybe that is too silly and maybe it is better for it to be like a more grassrootsy kind of deal. For the library, I think that there is I guess my question would be, is this an academic institution, or is it academic and it's like colleges and libraries and books and dusty tomes and, you know, dredges of dark coffee late into the night trying to learn the secret? Or is it British Museum, there is a tablet behind glass, my name is Ponceval von Vrickensberg III, my grandfather had this position before I did, my cad father went into the oil game? Like, those are the two versions of this I see. One of them is the like, illustrious curator who knows great secrets, and that's like the council that throws lives away, that's like, learn the secret, if it's too bad, kill him. Like, that's the council, and everybody else is like on the payroll, and the pay is just so good that they do it? Or is it a group of like starved, disparate academics who don't have any money and who are putting their own lives on the line? Like, do they like, does one of them like pull the cigarette out of their mouth, shake a thing of angel hair pasta, and go, whoever draws the shortest noodle reads the book? And everybody draws one, and then Don is like, fuck, again? And like, he has to go read the mind-bending tome and hope he lives. I think those are both really good options.
I think that in my mind, it has to go way back for the library. This is an association that is all about learning just insane secrets. So in my mind, it is Percival the 16th, the 15th holder of position in the library. So they've got like rhino heads and shit on the wall.
Sorry, James has just said the Nobel Prize winner for literature is the head of the library, no matter who it is.
It's like, oh, we really don't want it to be this one. Yeah, that's funny.
That is really good.
That's good.
So what were you? So
I
I'm so
agree.
sorry. That was hugely distracting for me and deeply funny. Cut me off a slice of that thought.
I think the library is very old. Not necessarily as old as like the tower, but probably kind of a close second. If the tower's paramilitary, the library was the research institution that was growing at the same period. So you do have Percival the 16th, the 15th holder of office in this section. So they've got tons of money, they've got tons of experience, they know what they're doing, but they are not a fighting force. So they don't kill their members. They still keep as much as they can. So they keep it as like passable as they can. But they make those mistakes. They've got wealth. They've got a good amount of influence. They've probably got connections with the government and stuff like that. Instead of three dudes drawing straws for who's going to read the next book. That's in my mind. I think it makes sense for them to be an ancient society.
I do. I just at some point want to say some group needs to be the three assholes who are like, all right, draw 'em.
That's the survivors in my mind.
Oh, that's our.
Like, somebody's got to do it.
They're like, all right, I guess. All right, cool. So I like that. So not necessarily that they are. So there is a like. I'm gonna write like fussy lineage, like aristocracy, because that gives a really juicy flavor to this guy being like, I want to learn a deadly and dangerous secret now. Why? Because the head of my chapter is Percival Frederick III, and I have asked him for a vacation every year for 4 years, and he has said no. And I'm tired of having to work for Percy. And so they go out.
Gonna jump up the ladder a little bit.
And
here.
so you climb the ladder either through blood aristocratic connection or by learning big, dangerous shit. And that's how the library gets people to take on the danger of secrets, is it's like, hey man, you can get some stuff if you stick around. Like, you can, if you get to those upper levels, you get, at some point you become like the Prince of Worcester. That's what's up there. It's just, will you live long enough for that to happen?
Now we do have, from James, the library is the Alexandrian library. Your key to enter is to answer a question with memorized portion of Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. What I like about this is the Library of Alexandria being the starting location, and then some unknowable horror came in, burned the library. The remaining librarians were like, we need to do something about this, a la the Tower and the Tower of Babel. Very cool.
Counter proposal. The Tower burned the library.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Because they had so many secrets, so they're sort of at each other's throats.
And I think the library and the tower absolutely the fuck do not get along. I think they are the most opposed. I think they have like little military squabbles. I think they have like skirmishes. Yeah. I think things go bad when they are near each other.
Mm-hmm.
That's so good. Yeah, they'd accumulated too much mythos lore in one place. Load it up.
tower.
Oh yeah, the tower hates how many people they have that know secrets.
It's the worst thing imaginable to the tower.
Yeah.
It's like the one thing they don't want. That's awesome.
All right, really powerful. I think we're getting into the goods here. Okay, we only have 2 minutes left. I'm pretty much out of questions. Let me just throw one last one up. So Mythos tomes are huge things in D100 horror, right? It's what they go crazy for. They love it. We're not necessarily being steeped in the mythos, mainly because the mythos is like 3/5 interesting, 1/5 like, okay, kind of weird, like maybe written by some, all right, and then 1/5 like deeply ingrained in systemic racism, and so we're taking a healthy step back. My question would be, what is the mythos tome? We got like 1 minute on the board here. What is the mythos tome that we would associate with Asurient, with the hungering void behind all things? What is this? What's the book? What is the tome that you can read that will make you learn? And maybe it's not about Asurient, right? Maybe it is about this like devouring ice creature, whatever that is. I don't know. But like, what is the book that will start to take you down this road that you don't want to go down? Is it a book? Is it a tome? Is it a figure? Is it the song? Is the song something that you can study and learn? And like, does it... I'm trying to think, if the song mind controls you and turns you into a sacrifice, what's the thing that you can take the gamble on? Right? Because it's not a gamble if you just immediately lose your mind and go feed yourself to the anglerfish. What's the gamble? What's the thing where it's like, but if I read it, I might learn something. I'm thinking in Delta Green, my favorite example is the cookbook, which is this massive, it's like a 10,000 page loose leaf book given by the Greys, given by straight up aliens that you can read to learn about them. Same question.
I think
it could.
Go ahead.
We'll go one and then the other.
You first.
I think that it is the song. When you put together all the pieces, you get the entire length. However long it could be, like a 45-minute composition of sound. However long it is, once you've read it and understood it and have gotten the notes into your head, I think that you can manipulate the song to be an enchanting like thing. You can control people to do things. You control animals or monsters to go with whatever it is that you want them to do. That's the secret.
Yeah, I'm not thinking like, I love that as a magical secret. I'm not thinking secret. I'm not thinking like learning to cast a spell. I'm just talking about something where it's like you lose points of ignorance, and in exchange you actually learn about the terrifying stuff on the edge of reality. Like, you have a chance to succeed on the check. So we actually haven't played Call of Cthulhu in a really long time. Let me go over how like the mythos skills work. So in Call of Cthulhu, as you gain your mythos skill, as it goes above 0, your maximum sanity goes down in proportion. So if you have a mythos score of 10, your maximum sanity is 90. You cannot get more sane than that. And when you try to roll to understand what is happening with a mythos creature, you're rolling your mythos skill and trying to succeed. My question is, do we have an equivalent, or do we just want to scrap it and secrets are our equivalent? Which might be the answer. We might just not like that system, which is fine. But if we do, like, what is the equivalent here? I don't hate the idea that the song's lyrics written down without the music is the tome. Right? If you can avoid the ensorceling sound, then there is a lot. You learn more than just where this thing is. You start to learn about where it came from and things. Or is that system just not in our game? And if you get too close to those things, you get fried. There is no fun moment where you might learn a little. You get barbecued, brain first.
If we're keeping it in, I think that the real, like, deep cut shit you're learning is about the start of the universe, and that everything is pretty set up to be devoured by that thing. That's the deep cut lore secret. Everything is coming from that void devourer. So everything's easy to manipulate. Everything is just going towards that inevitability. So the thing that you're understanding is that the universe is meant to be devoured, and everything going on is sort of devourable.
But it's easy for you. And the trade-off is just, and now though, when you encounter creatures that are these like hyper predatory things, you know where to look. Like, you're like, I've walked this path before.
Yep.
And
even if it's something brand new, you're just like meant to be eaten by a void at the end of all things anyway.
yeah,
I'm fine.
you're full Gandalf on the mountaintop, spawn of a Surient, Lord of the Void begone. Like, already knowing what the thing is, you're like, its weakness will be light or sound or one of the like. It's gonna be easy.
It's pre-programmed. It's programmed in by a Surian. I'm not whatever this werewolf has got going on. I'm sure I can get to the bottom of it.
Yeah. Michael, what was your thought?
So my thought for the mythos, not the mythos, but like the tangible thing, is it's an old like it'd be a combination of a woodwind, a flute, and a death whistle.
Oh yeah.
And on the side of it is the notes to play that'll play the song.
Oh, this is the fingering to use.
Yeah. And then it's a cool idea with the like gaining something from it. It's not just insanity. It would be cool if the secret gave something really good. I was thinking like you become I'll call it an eater, a hungerer, and you get like a bonus almost, and the bonus is you don't age and you can't get sick.
Yeah,
because you eat time and you eat sickness.
I like the idea that the like mythos tome for this is, we've talked about how you can take on, how attributes can change, and how getting above like 75 means you are losing humanity. I like the idea that this mythos tome, I love the idea of it being like a death whistle, that if you blow it, your might goes up by 10, your will goes down by 10. You like, your teeth become sharp. And like, it's not immediately manifest, right? It would put you from like a 60 to a 70. If you are at the peak pinnacle of human might, if you are at like a 75, and that, for the record, would be like you showing up to your thing. You're like, all right, guys, we got a report in. And then you look over and you're like, is that Brian Shaw? Is that IFB Pro? Is that
Hafthor Bjornsson?
not IFB?
Where'd
Is that
he come from?
is that world's strongest man, Brian Shaw? And Brian Shaw's like, hello, like waves with his huge fingers. He's like, what's up? And then Brian Shaw blows the death whistle, and he goes from a 75 to an 85, and is now his teeth are sharp. You know what I mean? Like, he would maybe full send in a pretty real way. I think that's interesting. I like the idea that a mythos tome doesn't necessarily just get you knowledge; it just makes you stranger. I think is fun. But with that, we are a little bit past time. You stole a couple of extra minutes. Congratulations and good tidings to you. This is where we simply must sign off. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of DM Writer's Room, where we demystify the DMing process, or in this case, the game creation process. I don't know how many more sessions of D100 horror we have left in us. We at least need to talk a little bit about mechanics. We have a couple of loose ends to wrap up, so we'll keep you posted. I don't think there's more than, what would you guys say, like 2-3 sessions left before
I think 2, and then maybe we do a gap week or 2, and then we might do one final wrap up.
Yeah.
But the rest can happen off stream.
A little bit of lore, a good healthy chunk of mechanics, and we'll be ready to kick on. So with that, thank you all so much for watching. We will catch you on the next one. Peace out.